So you talked about still reading scripts and things. What, if anything, did you do differently in terms of pursuing your acting career?
Well, I've always been really independent, you know, and I've never imagined not working. I've worked from the earliest time I can imagine. I come from, you know, parents who worked until they literally couldn't anymore. You know, I never imagined myself having to explain my job or justify my job, but I did, you know, and I am independent, and I see myself as independent and strong-willed, and I had to bargain. Every time I'd get a script, it would be, you know, I thought you weren't taking another job. I'd always say, are you kidding me? That's crazy. I have to work. I support my family. You know, when I moved out to LA, I'd get a check for, you know, a gig, $600 or something. I'd save half for me, send half to my family. You know, I kept having to justify taking work by saying, I'm supporting my parents, you know, I'm supporting my sister, I'm supporting my family, I have to work. And he would say, you don't have to work, kid. Let me take care of you. My woman doesn't have to work. And that sounds really sweet and really romantic in some way, but it became a real fight. You know, every time I got a script, it was what kind of, you know, how I was dressing, what kind of behavior I'd have, how did I have a sex scene? And then I started saying, no, I won't take the sex scenes, or, you know, I'll take the part where I don't play, you know, that kind of character. Or then I started minimizing the kinds of kissing scenes that I had, and eventually I had to change the wardrobe that I could have in the movie. I couldn't have a sex scene, but that all, you know, it didn't happen all at once, of course. It was little thing after little thing after little thing, and eventually I found myself pushing as many scripts off my desk as I could, picking the ones that had minimal makeup, dressed as conservative as possible, finding ways to minimize the scenes I had where I had a romantic involvement of any kind. It was a constant battle and negotiation.
So let me take you back. Did you, as a result of your discussions with Mr. Depp about moving in, did there come a time that you did move in with him?
Objection leading.
Overruled. Thank you.
Yes.
Please, and let me ask you this. You've talked about penthouse. We've heard a little bit about penthouse appointments and suites. Could you just explain to the jury the different places that Mr. Depp had in Los Angeles and what they were called, just so we have some context here when we're going through all this?
It's a little confusing, I imagine. He had about, I think, 4 or 5 mansions in this beautiful, like, you know, border of Beverly Hills and West Hollywood, and they were all in a cul-de-sac, and we called it Sweetser, because that was the name of the street. And there are 5 houses, I think 5 houses, it could be 4, all, you know, effectively, he had the whole street. Then he had about 5 penthouses downtown on the same floor of the Eastern Columbia building, which you've heard about, the ECB. And Sweetser was, you know, Johnny's kingdom. One of those houses was like a whole house was his man cave. It was a studio, and it was where he made music and hung out. And we spent some time in there, but that was effectively Johnny's, you know, place. And then there was the downtown places, and they were effectively empty save for some furniture and one of Johnny's friends, Isaac, who you met, and he lived there at some point before Johnny and I eventually decided to move in together.
Let me just stop you there. I just want to make sure we're clear. Are we talking about the penthouses, or are we talking about Sweetser?
Isaac lived in the penthouses.
Okay.
The rest of them were pretty much empty. And my best friend, who I was very, 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 very close to, went through a breakup, and he very kindly insisted on moving her into this penthouse. And of course, she said no for the first few times, but he insisted and said they were empty, and he would love to have her move down there, and he very kindly moved my best friend downtown. Problem is,
Rocky?
Yeah, okay. Rocky Pennington. But the problem is it's like 30, 45 minutes from West Hollywood where my place was, which we call Orange at the time.
Okay. So when did you move into the penthouses?
Shortly after he moved Rocky, my best friend, into the penthouse. So she was in one of these empty-ish apartments, and somewhere around that time, I think it took me some time, actually, but after that, I eventually agreed to move in with him and give up my place, although that made me pretty nervous, to be honest. But we were in this relationship that was very serious, and we were constantly traveling. Also, as another part of it, is we were in LA for a matter of days or weeks. I'd go do a job, he'd go do a job, I'd come back for a photo shoot or a red carpet, go on a location, go visit him on a location. And there was an incredible amount of travel and movement. So we weren't really, again, living the day-to-day that you might normally with a partner, you know, where you have a home and you move in together and you have one home. We didn't have that. It was
okay,
very different.
I'm going to take you to September of 2013. What were you filming at that time? London Fields?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I was filming London Fields. I just started.
All right. And did there come a time that you became engaged to Mr. Depp?
Well, yeah, it was difficult because in that role was a very difficult role. I mean, every time, every scene that involved sexuality or romance was like, I'd look at that on the page and it felt like I'd feel my gut tighten because I knew it was going to be an issue. But Johnny dropped me off. I gave him the script. I sent him pictures of what I was wearing in my wardrobe fittings. I sent him everything. I shared my script with his team, and the fighting eventually kind of minimized. It was clear I was going to do this job, and I told myself I had to do this job. And Johnny had to go to London, I think, for some pre-production stuff for a movie he was going to do a smaller part in. I think it was called. I think this was Into the Woods, is my best guess. So he dropped me off in London, and when he dropped me off in London, we had a few days at this hotel that we first, consummated our relationship in. It was when we were on the London press tour, and our relationship developed. That was the same hotel, and we were in this same room, which is Johnny liked to be in the same room. And it was really sweet. He got down on one knee and said, "I want you to be my girl forever, my woman, my girl. I want you to be the rest of my life. Say yes to me." He said he wanted to spend every day. He promised me that every day when I woke up, that I would wake up and he would make me smile at least once. And that would be his goal. And, I looked into his eyes and I saw my future, hope, like blind hope. I was so in love. It was one of the most, I can't describe that kind of joy. I thought, if we were married, then this is real. This is real. This isn't a thing of, this isn't chaotic, and this will change. I had so much hope in that moment. And I just said to him over and over again, "Are you serious? Are you real? Are you serious? Are you sure?" Because he didn't have a ring. So I thought, is this an impulse thing? You know, my experience, Johnny, could be very impulsive. And he said over and over again, be my woman forever. I want you to be my wife, my wife, my wife. I, of course, cried, and we had a wonderful evening. And he left shortly after, and I was like, the next day I had to go to work, and I couldn't tell anyone, and I wasn't sure. Part of me was worried that he didn't mean it, or that he wasn't sure. I just didn't want it to be an impulse thing, so I didn't want to mention it. I didn't want to bring it up. I didn't want to. And I kind of I walked around for a few days like I had butterflies under my skin. And then he brought my dad out to London with my best friends, and my dad told me, Johnny has asked me permission for your hand in marriage. And I felt like the luckiest woman in the world.
So while you were filming London Fields and Johnny had gone back to L.A., what, if any, issues did you have with him on fraternizing with the cast? I'm going to ask, Michelle, can you pull up Defendant's Exhibit 188, please?